After I died, my mother bound herself to a system. The system promised her that as long as she could live according to the trajectory of my life for 1 month, can bring me back to life, it can also make me obedient, well-behaved, and studious, and reward her with $1 billion in cash. My mother agreed without hesitation. Until the 29th day, my mother also stumbled onto the rooftop I used to frequent. For in the morning, holding a large stack of exam papers and practice problems, I leaped from the 19th floor rooftop. By the time I was brought to the hospital, my mother was frantic, her eyes red, as she kept emphasizing to the doctors, "You must hurry and save her." I only got her excused for morning self-study. "Just start the 4 right away. She can sit in class and get it done. She's about to take the college entrance exam. Not a single moment can be wasted." Later, the doctor pronounced me dead. My mother immediately started making a huge scene in the emergency room. She threatened with her life, demanding the hospital refund the ambulance fee. After getting the refund, my mother rejected the hospital's offer to contact a funeral home. She dragged my corpse alone to the school and hung a banner at the entrance, a heart-wrenching accusation that the school failed to educate me properly, leaving me without even the most basic ability to handle stress. Just sitting there studying for 21 hours a day, so relaxed, and then I died, so she demanded that the school first pay her $50 million in a lump sum as compensation. Additionally, she requested a monthly pension of $200,000 to compensate for the pain of losing her only daughter. Just at that moment, the system appeared. The system said, "Pity her for being a single mother, so it could give her one chance to bring me back to life. As long as my mom could live according to my life trajectory for 1 month, I could be revived, and after being resurrected, I would become exceptionally obedient." Never talking back to her again. At the same time, she would also receive a cash reward of $1 billion. Upon hearing this, my mother immediately agreed with great joy. She didn't even care about my lifeless body still lying on the ground, completely unaware of the suppressed laughter of the system in her mind. I was just about to remind my mom. Suddenly, a flash of white light swept before my eyes. Time rewound to 1 month ago. My mother became me, and the system became my mother. My mother stood excitedly in front of the mirror, admiring her youthful self once more, but soon began to find fault. "This wretched girl is truly inferior to me in every way. Her eyes aren't big enough, her nose isn't high enough, and her skin is so rough. And to think she's so dim-witted, all she has to do is study, yet she dares complain about being tired. How is she supposed to earn money for me when she grows up? How will I live like a queen then? Once I breeze through this month, if she dares complain again after she revives, I'll cut another hour from her sleep time." Hearing my mother's familiar harshness, my soul couldn't help but tremble. I can't even imagine what I'll actually have to face if I really come back to life a month from now. Before I could even recover from my worries, my mother had already been slapped to the ground by the system. Not yet fully adjusted, she immediately jumped up in a rage to argue back. "Are you out of your mind? Why did you hit me? How many times have I told you? Your only task right now is studying. Who allowed you to look in the mirror? No, I'm not that little bitch Nianen. Why can't I look in the mirror?" Mother got up from the ground and continued to retort angrily. The system did not indulge her, slapping her several times in succession before dragging her to the study desk piled high with test papers. "These are all your tasks for tonight. You're not allowed to sleep until you finish them." The mother wanted to continue arguing, but she was afraid of the system's slaps, so she could only cautiously ask the system, "I haven't studied for many years. Can you let me catch my breath first? Let me solidify what I've learned before doing the exercises." Upon hearing this, the system immediately went berserk, pushing the mother off her chair. It hurled everything within sight at the mother. "Ungrateful wretch, I worked so hard to raise you, all in the hopes that you'd amount to something. Do you know how expensive the school district apartment you're living in is now? I get up early and work late every day just to support your studies. How dare you try to bargain with me? I deserve to die. I deserve to die. I deserve to die. Raising an ungrateful wretch like you. I really deserve to die." The system was growing more and more frantic. It even started slapping its own face wildly right in front of the mother. The scene unfolding before me suddenly feels very familiar. Back in my childhood, I was originally conceived as a bargaining chip by my mother, who wanted to marry into a wealthy family, but because I turned out to be a girl, the other party didn't want me anymore. My mother extorted a large sum of money from him, vowing to raise me to be a successful person. This was her way of realizing her dream of crossing social classes and marrying into a wealthy family. From as far back as I can remember, if I showed even the slightest hint of displeasing her, she would fly into a rage at any moment. Several times, he even threatened to jump off the building with me in his arms. Clearly, even my mother couldn't handle such tactics. She could only get up dejectedly, sitting upright at the desk. She frowned and painstakingly worked through the unfamiliar problems on the test paper. After a whole night of tossing and turning, Mother was utterly exhausted, her breathing even in sleep betraying a deep weariness. Yet, At 6 o'clock the next morning, the system still brought a massive copper gong and struck it right by her ear. Mother was so startled that she instantly sprang up from the bed. Before she could even open her eyes, the system shoved a vocabulary booklet into her hands. Memorize 10 words before you leave the house, otherwise, don't even think about getting your meal money today. Mother was so sleepy she couldn't even open her eyes, let alone muster the energy to memorize vocabulary. She could barely manage to wash up and change into her school uniform, just as she was about to leave. The system conducted a surprise vocabulary quiz. As expected, she couldn't recall a single word. With a cold expression, the system picked up a ruler and struck her palm 10 times with force. Not only was her meal money for the day confiscated, but her bus card was taken as well. To avoid being late, she had to cover the entire 6-kilometer journey from home to school with an empty stomach. Her mother had no choice but to run the whole way. Finally arriving at school, her mother, overwhelmed by hunger, couldn't help but reach out to her deskmate. "Hey, I got up early and haven't eaten, let me have a bite of your bread." Her deskmate gave her a strange look. She hurriedly tucked away the bread in her hand, as if afraid her mother would say another word to her. "I think my mother must have forgotten. During my freshman year of college, I once fainted in class due to severe hypoglycemia. The boy sitting next to me immediately gave me a milk candy and carried me to the infirmary. Afterward, my mother not only failed to express gratitude to him, he even cursed him as a rapist, accusing him of having an illicit relationship with me. He demanded an exorbitant compensation of 500,000 yuan. He even hung a sign around my neck that read slut, tied a pair of worn-out shoes to me, and paraded me back and forth across the school playground. Later, that boy who sat next to me couldn't bear the pressure any longer and had no choice but to drop out of school. From then on, everyone in the entire class stopped paying any attention to me. Throughout all 3 years of high school, almost no classmate ever spoke a single word to me. My mother is now living under my identity. How could there possibly be anyone willing to help her? 10 p.m. The mother, tormented by hunger and exhaustion all day, returned home. Seeing the cold rice on the table, she immediately lunged at it like a madwoman, grabbing it and trying to shove it into her mouth. The system didn't hold back, directly pulling the mother aside. "Eating as soon as you walk in, do you even know the rules? Are there any perfect score test papers today? If not, you can't eat." Hearing this, the mother completely broke down. She slammed her backpack to the ground and pointed at the system, cursing it furiously. "Are you insane? Are you trying to drive me to my death now? Fine, then I'll die right now. You'll be satisfied once I'm dead, won't you?" The system remained completely calm, took out its phone, and recorded the mother's frenzied state. It sent the video to her family group chat, her close friends group chat, and even my class group chat and the school-wide group chat. With each post, it murmured softly, "Kids these days are so hard to manage. As a mother, I will never give up on my child." The mother, who had just been in the midst of a breakdown and a fit of rage, froze because the worn-out phone in her pocket began to vibrate incessantly. Countless messages flooded in toward her. Everyone in the family was earnestly trying to persuade her. "Your mother raised you all by herself. It wasn't easy. How can you just lose your temper with her like that? Hurry up and apologize to your mom." Everyone in the class group chat was laughing at her. "Oh dear, this drama queen is starting to fight with her mom again, making a scene every single day. Why hasn't her mother beaten her to death yet? I'd love to see that troublemaker get what she deserves. I heard her mother is a shameless homewrecker. No wonder she started seducing others as soon as school began." Even in the school's massive group chat with thousands of members, people were pointing fingers at her. They accused her of being willful, ungrateful, and lacking even the most basic manners. She wanted to speak up and explain herself, only to find she had been muted in all the group chats. At that moment, her mother had reached the peak of her grievances. She ran back to her room in a huff, wanting to shut the door and have a good cry, but the very next second, the system barged in and dragged her out from under the covers, make her kneel on the shattered dishes she just broke in the living room and reflect. Only then did my mother realize that my room had never had a door lock. In this house, she didn't even have the right to cry out or scream. For some reason, as a bystander soul, seeing my mother endure everything I once experienced under my identity, I did not feel any satisfaction from seeing my mother, who had once abused me, being punished. Instead, from an outsider's perspective, I felt even more pity for my past self. My mother, forced to kneel all night, now appeared much more obedient. She eagerly picked up her books and took the initiative to work on practice problems every day. She studied until 3 in the morning. Whenever she could squeeze out even a little free time, she would rush over to massage the system's shoulders and legs, sharing the household chores. But I knew that my mother hadn't truly learned her lesson because of the system's reprimand. Because I can hear her thoughts every night, she would secretly swear in her heart, anyway, there's only 1 month left. Once this month is over, that little bitch Li Nianen can be revived. One day, I will make her pay for every single bit of suffering I've endured. I want to watch her get into the best university, and then tear up her admission letter, so she can't go anywhere. I want her to slave away from me her whole life. To be my walking blood bag forever, holding on to this conviction. In the days that followed, my mother played the role of a caring and diligent daughter right under the system's watchful eye. On Mother's Day, she even used the pocket money she had saved for a long time to buy the system a bouquet of bright red carnations. As soon as she entered the door, she sweetly said, "Mom, happy Mother's Day." The system looked at the vibrant bouquet of flowers, but its expression immediately darkened. "Do you think it's easy for me to earn money? Why would you buy something like this for no reason?" The mother quickly waved her hands in explanation. "No, this wasn't bought with the household money. I saved up for it little by little with my allowance. Mom, I just thought you worked too hard every day. I wanted to make you a little happier." The system disdainfully fiddled with the bouquet in its hands, glaring coldly at its mother. "Don't I give you your allowance? I'll be happy when you get perfect scores in all your subjects. Hurry up and return this useless thing, otherwise, don't come back." Mother lowered her head, looking troubled. "But, these are fresh flowers. Fresh flowers are never returnable or exchangeable. Mom, please accept it this time. I really know I was wrong. I'll definitely study hard from now on to make you happy." The system relentlessly grabbed the mother by the collar, and so, the mother was dragged all the way to the flower shop by the system. The owner naturally refused to give a refund, the system, ignoring his mother's struggles, kicked her all the way to the flower shop entrance. Then he reached out and tore her clothes, cursing her with the most vicious words in front of everyone. "Come on, kneel right here. Let's see which man is willing to pay for this bouquet of flowers for you. As long as someone is willing to pay, I'll marry you off for free today. See, no one wants you at all, because you're just a disgusting waste of space. Can you even eat this pile of stuff you bought? If you can, then go ahead and live off flowers from now on." After saying that, the system grabbed the bunch of carnations it had smashed and stuffed them into Mother's mouth, one by one. "I remember a month ago, I was kneeling here in despair just like this. The flowers I had personally selected were also treated this way. That intense bitterness is something I still remember to this day. I still can't understand why I bought a bouquet of flowers for my mother that day. She never showed even the slightest bit of love for me. It wasn't until after I died that I understood. They say a mother's love is selfless, but in this world, it is a child's love for their parents that is the purest and most unconditional. My mother doesn't love me, yet I can't help but hope that she will." This farce finally ended with the florist's compromise. The system successfully obtained a refund, but its punishment of the mother was far from over. From that day on, the system treated Mother as if she were invisible. It stopped speaking to her, stopped making eye contact, and ignored all her needs and emotions. No matter how Mother apologized, admitted her mistakes, or even kowtowed, the system never looked at her again. The most terrifying thing is, under the influence of the system, classmates, teachers at school, and even strangers she encountered treated her mother as if she were invisible. Everyone's disregard pushed her to the brink of madness. Every day, she teetered on the edge of collapse. Fortunately, she later discovered a litter of newborn kittens under the low wall in the school's backyard. The way the kittens gently nuzzled her palm finally gave her a sliver of solace amid her daily breakdowns, so she began scrimping and saving every day, buying goat milk and ham sausages specifically to feed the kittens. She poured out all the pain and grievances in her heart to the kittens. She had clearly taken those kittens as her spiritual support. This day marked the 29th day of my mother experiencing my life. She happily ran to the school backyard, carrying a large bag of ham sausages. "Little darlings, after tomorrow, I'll receive a reward of 100 million. I'll come pick you up right away when the time comes. I'll give you all the best." But when she parted the grass as usual, what she saw were the unrecognizable corpses of kittens scattered all over the ground. The system beside her said coldly, "No wonder your grades have dropped so much. It's all because of these animals. Now that the beast is dead, get back home and study. I went through so much trouble to get these real exam papers for you. Who do you think you're letting down by not studying?" Her mother felt the world spinning around her, unable to make out what the system was saying. Tears streaming down her face, she screamed and rushed up to the rooftop on the 19th floor. Bang! A loud crash echoed as it hit the ground. Yet Mother opened her eyes once more. Mother opened her eyes. She found herself back in my bedroom again, terrified. She stared at the date on the wall and realized she had still returned to a month earlier. The system reappeared once again, calmly announcing to her, "Because you did not fully experience a month of your daughter's life before her death, our mission must start over again. Now, please adjust your state as soon as possible and get into character. Our mission will restart in 3 minutes. No, I don't want to. You, the system, are a madman. You're nothing but a tormenting lunatic, Mother frantically shook her head, grabbing her own hair, and painfully slammed it against the floor. What kind of experience a month of life is this? How could this possibly be Lenian's life? I've endured hardship and toil for half my life, my youth, my money. I've given everything to her. How could she possibly live like this? It must be you. It must be you playing tricks. You don't want me to complete the task. You don't want to give me the 1 billion reward. It must be you. You're trying to drive me to my death, so I'll give up on this mission voluntarily. That way, you won't have to hand out the rewards, right? Tell me, where are your management center and control panel? I want to file a complaint against you right now, right this instant. The system's tone remained completely unperturbed. I never intended for you to give up on the mission. On the contrary, didn't I give you another chance, allowing you to complete the task once more? Also, if you think the experiences I arranged for you weren't realistic enough, I can show you the surveillance footage from your home right now. After all, you installed no less than 10 hidden cameras in your home to monitor your daughter. You could even see if she took an extra sip of water. After saying this, the system gave the mother no chance to argue. It directly projected the footage recorded by the home surveillance cameras right before the mother's eyes, under the lens. I can only sleep less than 4 hours each day when I'm truly desperately sleepy. I use an awl to jab my own thigh. I often don't get enough to eat, and for every extra piece of meat I take, my mother writes it down in a notebook. Then she tells me this is a debt I owe her, and I must repay it in full once I grow up. I live each day in constant fear, yet I strive with all my might to survive. Even if I meet every single one of my mother's demands, she would still occasionally take up the ruler and beat me harshly while I was asleep or the slightest bit relaxed. I cannot cry, I cannot frown, and I certainly cannot cry out in pain. I can only be grateful. I am grateful that this is my mother's way of pushing me forward. The system spoke candidly. Ms. Li Wang, as you can see, I have been quite lenient compared to how you appear on camera. You are in a much more comfortable position than your daughter, because after all, I cannot truly become your biological mother. Nor can you expect me to be fully satisfied with you, but your daughter will have expectations, so she has been doing her utmost to excel, just earn even the slightest bit of your maternal love. Mother stared blankly at the scene unfolding on the screen, as if lost in thought, but then again, it seemed like she wasn't thinking of anything at all, because I couldn't hear her inner voice. I don't know how much time passed before Mother suddenly smiled. How ridiculous. Since when has the world become so harsh toward mothers? Why should I be so selflessly devoted to a child? I can give birth to her, raise her, provide her with an education, and demand that she become accomplished. She must be grateful to me for that. If it weren't for her, my life could have been incredibly brilliant too, but with her here, I have to watch over her every day. All the focus of my life must revolve around her. I want to work, I want to travel, I want to do everything I desire, but because of her, I can't do anything at all. All I did was ask her to study hard and be filial to me in the future. What more could she possibly want? To commit suicide over such a trivial matter. If she wants to die, fine, but she has to pay back every penny I spent on her food and drink all these years, and she has to repay me for my monthly pension from now on. Then she can go die wherever she pleases, carried away by her emotions. The mother pulled out the notebook she used for keeping accounts. Each and every entry was laid out before the system. My soul also carefully examined the records on display, from childhood to adulthood. Every grain of rice I ate, every cent I spent, my mother had meticulously documented it all. What made it even more ironic was, after filling each page, Mother would write a sentence at the bottom: once you turn 18, you must repay it 100-fold. Even though I am now a soul, my heart still aches from the words written in that notebook. In truth, I should have realized it long ago. Mother never loved me. I am merely a key my mother wants to use to cross social classes and marry into a wealthy family. This key of mine failed to unlock that door, so in my mother's eyes, I am nothing but a complete failure. The system did not look at the contents recorded in that notebook. It simply spoke in a matter-of-fact, business-like tone. Ms. Li Wang, do you want a life without children? Without hesitation, my mother nodded. Of course, all the suffering in my life is because I gave birth to this child. If I had another chance to choose, I would never have given birth to her. The system nodded. In that case, I can give you another chance. Although you didn't complete the 1-month task last time, you still persisted for 29 days, I can grant you a special reward, allowing you to be reborn back to the time before you gave birth to your daughter. Now, your life can start anew. The system gave her mother no chance to react, directly sending her back 18 years, to the day she confronted the wealthy man with the pregnancy test results. The wealthy man impatiently pushed her and she immediately tumbled down the stairs. When I woke up again, my stomach was completely empty. Although my mother still cried and made a scene, she no longer had any bargaining chips in her belly compared to my previous life, when the wealthy man gave her 20 million in cash plus a small villa as compensation after I was born. This time, the wealthy man simply threw 200,000 at her and sent her away. After the wealthy man left, the entire maternity ward could hear her wailing cries. Just then, a gurney carrying a woman in labor passed by her. Somehow, I ended up inside the pregnant woman on that gurney. A few hours later, I was born too. In this life, my parents are a very ordinary young couple. Dad is a small-time clerk at a law firm. Mom runs her own little bakery. I am their second child, with a 5-year-old older brother who has already grown into a proper little man. Unlike my previous life, when my mother and grandmother clamored to throw me, a girl, into the stinking ditch as soon as I was born. This time, the whole family stood in a neat row outside the delivery room, eagerly awaiting my arrival. When the nurse announced that I was a girl, my father, holding my grandparents' hands, jumped for joy right then and there. Everyone was jostling to get in front of my little cart, introducing themselves to me, though I couldn't open my eyes. I could clearly feel that everyone was genuinely happy about my arrival, so this is what it feels like to be wrapped in the warmth of family and love. Soon, my parents gave me my new name for this lifetime. My name is Zhang Jinjin. From that moment on, I was no longer Li Nianen, forever indebted to my parents' kindness. Instead, I became Zhang Jinjin, cherished like a pearl, treasured like a jewel, because I carried with me the memories of my past life. So even though I was just a newborn baby, I still couldn't help but maintain the habits from my previous life. I rarely used crying to express my needs, whether hungry, sleepy, or tired. I always tried my best to endure it quietly. Even when I'm sick or truly in pain, I would only let out a faint, muffled sob. This situation terrified my parents in this life, who thought it might be a sign of autism. They took me to countless hospitals and had me undergo all sorts of tests. The final conclusion was that there is nothing wrong with my body. I also show no signs of autism. I am simply suppressing my own needs, as if afraid of causing trouble for my parents. Upon hearing this diagnosis, my mother couldn't hold back her tears. Dad also frowned with heartache. They carefully cradled me in their palms, kissing me again and again. Mom said, "Silly child, why do you need to be so sensible? I gave birth to you so you could enjoy life. You can cry, you can fuss, and you can be willful." Dad said, "If the sky falls, Dad will hold it up. All I want is for my child to be happy. Cry, my darling. Cry if you want to." My child is allowed to cry when they want to, and laugh when they want to. Even my 5-year-old brother comforted me like a little adult. "Jinjin, don't be afraid. Big brother will protect you forever and ever. No matter what trouble you get into, Big brother will take the blame for you. If you like, I'll give you all my toys too." That day, I let out the biggest cry of my life, crying for the grievances of my past life, crying for the fortune of my present one. The sound of that crying was even somewhat piercing, so piercing that passers-by couldn't help but turn their heads. But my family was overjoyed, embracing me with excitement. They kept lifting me high, then squatting down, holding all sorts of toys up to me, until I too giggled with excitement. Under the careful nurturing of this family, I finally realized just how happy children who live in normal families can be. In this home, Mom and Dad never spoke of gratitude aloud. When there's something delicious bought at home, the whole family can happily share it together. Instead of pushing a huge pile in front of me and forcing me to finish it all, and then saying, "If it weren't for you, who would buy such expensive things to eat?" Going to the mall, I can also buy clothes that I like. Girls don't necessarily have to dress in pink and look cute. As long as they like it, any color or style is perfectly fine. In this lifetime, my mother also keeps a small notebook, but it's not to record how much food I've eaten or how much money I've spent. Instead, it's where she notes down the moments of my first rollover, my first words, and my first steps. Every scribble I drew with my clumsy hands was carefully collected by my parents. They framed them and displayed them in the most prominent spots at home. Despite growing up in such a family, I never became rebellious from their doting. On the contrary, I developed an immense interest in learning from a very young age. In my previous life, I died amidst that pile of hopeless practice problems, but that doesn't mean I had no interest in those subjects. It was just that under my mother's high-pressure control in my past life, I was always terrified, afraid that if I didn't do well enough, I might go hungry at any moment or face a beating at any time. In this life, I can finally set aside my burdens and truly focus wholeheartedly on studying. From childhood, my grades have almost never fallen below the top 3 in my class. Every parent-teacher conference would turn into a commendation ceremony for my parents. Whenever the parents of my classmates talk about me, they all say I am the child from another family, obedient, and sensible, never needing parents to worry whenever such moments arise. My parents always smile and refute, "Our daughter is lovable because she is herself, not because she's sensible." I know my parents aren't just saying nice things in front of others, because they treat my brother the same way. Unlike me, my brother doesn't excel academically, he only loves playing basketball. He even occasionally skips a self-study class in secret just to catch a basketball game, but mom and dad never scold him for it. They would never say things like playing basketball has no future. On my brother's birthday, they would give him autographed photos of his idol. They would mobilize the whole family to snatch tickets for the basketball games my brother loved. What they said and what they did were always consistent. Being their child, it was truly just to make us happy. In the blink of an eye, 18 years had passed once again. I was facing the college entrance examination. To make up for the regrets of my past life, I worked even harder, rising early and retiring late each day, immersing myself in a sea of books and practice questions. Mom temporarily closed her small bakery to take care of me full-time at home. Dad started planning our family graduation trip early on. My brother even generously took out his first paycheck after graduation, saying he wanted to reward me, having experienced failure across 2 lifetimes. I cherished this chance at the college entrance exam in this life all the more. Not for anyone's expectations, but simply to prove myself, to get into my dream university and become the person I've always wanted to be. The 2-day college entrance exam has come to an end. After leaving the exam hall, my parents didn't even ask me a single question about how I did. Instead, he took my brother and me directly onto a plane heading south. I happily began my graduation trip. Not long after we returned from our trip, one early morning, the teacher and the principal excitedly knocked on our door. Holding up my 745-point exam score, I announced that I was the top scorer in the college entrance exam in our province that year. Television stations from all over the country rushed to report on my results. The admissions offices of both Tsinghua University and Peking University came knocking on my door, each trying to outdo the other. The scholarship offers kept climbing, each one higher than the last. I had no doubt in choosing Tsinghua University, which I had always wanted to attend. After officially receiving the scholarship, I suggested upgrading my mom's bakery with a brand new set of equipment. Unexpectedly, my mom flatly refused. She gently stroked my hair and said, "Silly child, I've told you many times, raising you wasn't about waiting for you to repay me, it was so you could experience the life I never had. As long as you're living well, that's all that matters. I can take responsibility for my own life." After saying this, Mom hugged me just like she did when I was a child, patting my back over and over again. With a crack sound, it felt as if a block of ice that had been buried deep in my heart for over a decade had finally shattered. My heart has also completely softened. I originally thought my beautiful life could officially begin, yet I never imagined that one day I would see my mother from my previous life again. Brotherly Wang. At the commendation ceremony the school held for me, I took the stage as the representative of outstanding students to give a speech. Just as I picked up the microphone, a dark figure rushed up and hugged me tightly. "Nianen, Mom has finally found you. Nianen, all these years, Mom has been missing you so much." Hearing that name, my heart skipped a beat. Instinctively, I wanted to run away, but someone hugged me from behind. Brotherly Wang said that she had been having a very hard time these past few years. The 200,000 yuan compensation the wealthy man gave her was snatched away by her parents to buy a house for her brother before it even had a chance to warm up in her hands. She had intended to use the same old trick, hoping to deceive another wealthy man. She planned to give birth to a son and force her way into a higher position. However, everyone had learned from past mistakes, and no one was willing to take her bait anymore. She had no particular skills to speak of and spent her days dreaming of reaping rewards without putting in any effort. So after many years, she still hadn't achieved anything. Her parents couldn't stand it anymore. Using the excuse that her sister-in-law was having a baby and there was no room left in the house, they directly kicked her out. Then the whole family moved to a place she couldn't possibly find. From then on, she started looking for me every single day. Brotherly Wang snatched the microphone from my hand, tears streaming down his face as he spoke to me. "You only became the top scorer in the college entrance exams today because of my painstaking efforts to nurture you in your past life, so I am your real mother. All your scholarship money should belong to me. Every year's scholarship you receive in university will also be mine, and when you start working, your monthly salary must be handed over to me too, right? You're not allowed to go far away for college, you have to come home every day to serve me. If you're not willing, I'll go with you and live on campus. In any case, you must honor and serve me. I'll cling to you for the rest of my Life, I struggled, about to refute Brother Li Wang's words. The next second, my parents and brother rushed forward. My brother grabbed Li Wangxun by the collar, and my father kicked him in the stomach. My mother shielded me in her arms. She, who had always been gentle, actually pointed at Li Wangxun's nose and cursed him loudly. "You shameless woman, you keep saying Jinjin is your daughter, then let me ask you, do you know what Jinjin's favorite food is? Who is Jinjin's best friend? Do you know what her biggest dream has been since she was a child, whether in your past life or this one? Have you ever loved Jinjin even a little? Did you have children out of love, or just to use her as a tool?" Brother Li Wang was pinned to the ground by his father and older brother, but he still refused to back down verbally. "What's wrong? If having children isn't for taking care of you in old age and seeing you off when you die, then what is it for? It doesn't matter if you don't need that dead girl to see you off. She must still be filial to me, because she owes me that." Without another word, Mom slapped Li Wangxing across the face. "Listen up, I don't care if what you're saying is true or false. I'm just telling you, Jinjin is the child I carried for 10 months. If you dare hurt her or harass her, I'll fight you to the death." To prevent the conflict from escalating further, the school called the police. Brother Li Wang was detained for 15 days for picking quarrels and provoking trouble. Watching the police car drive away, I cautiously looked at my family beside me. "Mom, if I said that in my past life, I really was that person's daughter, would you still want me?" Mom's eyes reddened as she hugged me tightly without hesitation. "Of course I want you, of course I do, seeing how sensible you've been since childhood. Mom knows you must have had a very unhappy life in your past life. Mom only hates herself. Only hates that she didn't find you sooner. My precious, you must remember next time, when you're reborn, you must recognize Mom." Mom cried, and I cried too, but through my tears, I found myself smiling from the heart. After the summer vacation ended, the whole family, carrying my large and small bags of luggage, boarded the high-speed train to Tsinghua University with me. The family chatted and laughed together. An emergency news bulletin was suddenly broadcast on the electronic screen in the waiting hall. The city's wealthiest individual was attacked by an unknown assailant, who has since been successfully neutralized by the police. This station reminds all citizens to stay safe. On the large screen, footage of the attack on the wealthiest individual played repeatedly. Brother Li Wang, his eyes bloodshot, charged toward the wealthiest man with a sharp knife in hand. He kept shouting, "Give me back my child, give me back my child. It's all because of you that my child is gone. I want you to give me back my child." My child was the top scorer in the college entrance exam. How could your 200,000 ever compensate for a top scorer? In the next scene, Brother Li Wang was shot and fell to the ground, his eyes still wide open, as if unwilling to swallow down the intense bitterness of this life. Upon seeing this sudden news, my mother immediately covered my eyes. My father and brother awkwardly tried to change the subject. In truth, I wasn't afraid at all, because I know, in this life, I possess everything I pursued for a lifetime in my previous life, but never attained. In this life, I am destined to become the happiest girl in the world. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The rebirth system asked me to choose a language, and I said, English. The system replied, "Okay, baby talk." So, when I saw the domineering CEO dad, who is a powerhouse in the industry, boldly claim he would raise his child himself only to be left helpless by his son's crying, I stared at the baby wailing in front of me about a sock thread poking its toe and fell into deep thought. I yanked off the little tycoon's socks, and under the displeased gaze of the tycoon dad, I turned the socks inside out and slipped them onto his son. Hey, no more crying. At that moment, I was like a deity in the tycoon's eyes. Just as I saw my CT6 score, in an instant, a surge of anxiety and frustration struck me like a thunderbolt, and I fainted, waking up in a daze. A robotic voice chanted all around me, "You can choose to instantly master a language." I opened my mouth, sad, numb, and dazed. English, all right. The robotic voice replied, "Baby talk." A blinding white light flashed, and everything before me changed. It was no longer a desk piled with books and practice papers, nor a phone displaying a score-checking interface. Instead, it was a vast, spacious room. It looks like a nursery for a little baby, because there's an entire wall of pacifiers, all kinds, displayed on it. Suddenly, an unhappy voice came from behind. "I hired you to stand there and daydream." Before he could finish, a piercing cry, like the song of a siren, deafening and shaking the surroundings, echoed endlessly in this vast room. I was already stunned by the crying, let alone the man holding the child. He appeared to be about 185 centimeters tall, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. Wearing a white shirt, he gently held the child, swaying from side to side and soothed. Don't cry, don't cry. He looked every bit the devoted family man, but at that moment, I didn't have time to be shocked about why I was there, nor did I have time to silently recite that emptiness is form and form is emptiness. This is someone else's husband. Don't stare, because I heard the child in his arms, who couldn't have been more than a month old, speak. Toes, socks. I was dumbfounded. Seeing me still standing there in a daze, the man looked displeased, but he had enough manners not to show it too obviously. Amid the baby's loud cries, he only said, "He's hungry, why aren't you going to make the formula?" I numbly stepped forward and took off the child's socks. The man frowned. "What are you doing? How on earth did you get your certification? He's still young, you can't take off his socks, he'll catch a cold." I turned the little socks inside out and put them back on him. A miraculous scene unfolded. The child, who had been crying non-stop just moments before, stopped fussing. He blinked his eyes, looked at me, and his pout gradually turned upward into a giggle. A hint of astonishment appeared on the man's face. I took off the other sock and turned it inside out to show him. There are tiny threads inside the sock, the same color as the fabric. We can't see them, but the baby's skin is delicate, and if they get caught, it's very uncomfortable. That's why we need to wear them inside out. The man nodded, then said, "Indeed, the quality of these 30,000 yuan socks isn't good. Next time, let's switch to the 50,000 yuan ones." Are you saying this little piece of fabric costs 30,000? Give me all the socks you don't want. I'll sew them together and wear them as a patchwork garment. This fabric is too rough for socks, but it's just right for making clothes for me. After finally understanding the whole story with the system, before I could even process it, another loud cry rang out. Qin Xiao held the child at a loss. Looking at her husband, Gu Jianma was actually at a loss as well, but by nature he was steady. After taking the child and calmly checking him over, he looked at me. His gaze was helpless. I clearly heard the child murmuring, "Too quiet, so quiet." Thinking quickly, I immediately started whistling. In reality, it was completely off-key, but I had no choice but to compose a new song on the spot. Little Bao gradually quieted down, giggling as he looked in my direction. Qin Xiao's gaze toward me radiated the tenderness of a new mother, though part of it was also because this body of mine was only 16 years old. Quite small, according to the system. There weren't many in the village who could afford to go to school. Once they got older, they would go out to work. I had some experience taking care of children from looking after my younger brother when I was little, passed along by layers of intermediaries. The Gu family had originally hired a high-end nanny who had to take a month off for personal reasons. Somehow, I ended up filling in. Originally, after learning my age, the Gu family didn't want me. They didn't hire child labor, but the intermediary couldn't bear to lose such a big client and praised me to the skies. In the end, I was called in for a private trial. Clearly, I passed the probation period, and the couple were more than satisfied, so, with tears in my eyes, I took on a job paying 150,000 a month, doing the simplest translation work, and serving a little master who was so adorable it could melt your heart every day. My work consisted of making him milk when he said he was thirsty, changing his diaper when he said he needed to go, and humming songs for him when he said he was bored. It wasn't hard at all, and it wasn't tiring in the slightest to outsiders. It looks like I'm by the little master's side every day, and every time he cries, within 5 seconds, I can accurately figure out why he's crying and make him giggle with laughter. The butler said, "The young master is very particular about the nipple and temperature. Every time he drinks milk, you have to find the nipple he likes and adjust it to the right temperature before he'll drink." I look at the little baby in front of me, who drinks happily with any nipple as long as it's not too hot or too cold, and listen to him babbling away. Oh, so it's not about being picky with the nipple or the temperature. Every time he cried, they thought he was hungry, but he wasn't actually hungry. They would change his pacifier and adjust the temperature, fussing around until he finally got hungry, and only then would he mercifully open his mouth to drink. He was clearly a very easy-to-raise, good-tempered, well-behaved baby, who was ruining his reputation. That day, the beautiful, kind, and gentle Mrs. Qin gave me a day off to go out and have fun. With a month's salary of 150,000 renminbi in my pocket, I shopped frantically in the mall, tears streaming down my face, tears of happiness. If learning baby talk could let me live like this forever, I would be willing to learn it until the day I die, but my joy didn't last long. Something even more delightful came along. Qin Xiao called, apologetically telling me that the baby had been crying nonstop and nothing seemed to soothe him, asking if I could come back and take a look. Her voice was flustered, tinged with a hint of shyness. I immediately went back. Gu Xiaobao was quite cooperative. The moment he saw me, he stopped crying. Then, with a pitiful look, he said, "Want, hug, I'm dying of cuteness. I'm dying of cuteness. I'm dying of cuteness. I'm dying of cuteness." The cutest in the world, the cutest in the universe. But I keenly sensed a trace of loneliness mixed in with Miss Jean's relief. Having read foreign romance novels for over a decade, I immediately thought of outshining the master. After caring for the crown prince for 10 years, the emperor said I was his weakness and ordered my execution, and I was reborn, returning to the first year I took care of the crown prince. I jolted awake and immediately said to little treasure, "Sweetie, did you have a scary dream? Just hug mommy and you'll feel better." I nestled the child into Miss Jean's embrace. Gu Xiaobao was much easier to deal with than his father, who looked the part of a gentleman but was actually a master of pretense. He giggled happily at the sight of Miss Jean. "Madam, if you hold him more often, he'll grow closer to you," I said. "Thank you," she smiled, knowing what I had discovered. With a glimmer of tears in her eyes, "I'm sorry, it's just that I'm usually too busy with work. Miss Jean is so beautiful even when she cries. She's this stunning Mr. Gu. Come over here. How can you possibly have both the beautiful, gentle, and understanding Miss Jean and the fair, adorable, well-behaved, big-eyed, chubby-cheeked baby who giggles at the slightest poke? Look me in the eyes. Tell me why." Although I feel a bit guilty for taking the job from the previous nanny, the competition for the position has always been like this. It's survival of the fittest either. You lose your job or I lose mine. Through my relentless efforts, Gu Xiaobao has grown much closer to his mother, always reaching out for her to hold him whenever he sees her. Mr. Gu is not within the scope of my efforts. In my view, this person seems a bit pretentious, so let him keep up the act, because he carries an air of condescension. Perhaps my eyes are failing me. Or maybe he is simply too busy to mend the father-son relationship. But what does that have to do with me? I'm not going to be the bad guy stirring up trouble between father and son. I just won't help when Mr. Gu comes around. My reputation truly took off at a private gathering of wealthy ladies because I'm genuinely cute, beautiful, likable, and quirky. Miss Jean really likes me, and little Bao Gu does too, so Miss Jean treats me like a half-sister. As long as it's not a work-related or formal occasion, she takes me along wherever she can. This circle of affluent ladies consists of new mothers who have just given birth, who rarely have time to relax without work each day, and their discussions revolve entirely around parenting issues. "Oh, Miss Zhao, don't you hire a nanny for your child?" one of the ladies asked. I was playing with Gu Xiaobao, who could barely sit up but still wobbled from side to side, as well as another well-behaved baby from who knows which family who could already crawl. Hearing this, I glanced at that Miss Zhao. She was dressed elegantly and appeared to have a gentle temperament, much like Miss Jean. "Oh, Nana won't let anyone else hold her, she just won't let go. You're just too soft-hearted. Being this clingy isn't good. It's holding back your career," one of the ladies remarked, though she didn't intervene. "Finding a good nanny these days is tough. Do you know why Mrs. Zhang isn't coming? The nanny she hired is an older one, supposedly a senior nanny, but she was watching the child at home, and with such a big bed, the child fell off without her noticing. The poor thing twisted its hand and cried for ages without anyone noticing. They tried to hide it and didn't dare say anything until it swelled up so badly they had to call a private doctor. Now they're in the middle of a lawsuit. Young ones aren't any better either. My aunt hired a nanny who seemed honest and sweet-talking at first. She seemed to know her way around children and was young and energetic, but in the end, she got involved with my aunt's husband. After she was kicked out, it turned out she was pregnant and secretly gave birth, and it was a son. No less. Now my aunt's daughter isn't even favored by her grandmother anymore, and they're making a huge fuss about it, talking about divorce. That woman is utterly shameless. I saw her once when I went to visit my niece. She does look delicate and pitiful, but who would have known she's a habitual bed climber? So you see, it's really hard to find a good child care worker. The older ones don't have the energy, and the younger ones just can't be trusted. The lady spoke, her gaze drifting meaningfully in my direction. "Why don't you just say it outright? I'm not well educated, so I don't understand your veiled sarcasm." Though gentle, Miss Jean was no pushover. She immediately responded, "Let's not paint everyone with the same brush. Just because someone is attractive doesn't mean they do such things, and you can't blame the girl entirely. These things take two willing parties. If the man were truly decent, he'd call the police on any woman who undressed in front of him." She didn't mince her words, and the lady said awkwardly, "I was just speaking from the heart." Wah wah wah. Just as they were talking, the child in Miss Zhao's arms suddenly burst into loud cries. Only then did the ladies realize that during previous gatherings, the sound of children crying had been like background music. So why was it so quiet today? I turned my head and realized that from those who could only sit to those who could crawl and walk, every single one of them was gathered around me, babbling and giggling with me. Hey, the nanny at Miss Jean's place is really something. No wonder you take her everywhere you go with Tang Tang. These kids love playing with her so much. Tang Tang is Gu Xiaobao's nickname, and his formal name is Gu Mingtang. Absolutely, my little girl is particularly stubborn and spoiled. If things don't go her way, she throws a tantrum, and 3 nannies at home couldn't handle her. But now, playing with that nanny, she's so quiet. It's really something. I held one child in my arms, had another clinging to my back, and 2 more were hugging my legs, wrapped in the milky scent and soft, plump flesh. On the left is a fair, tender little face, on the right is a face with long lashes and big, round eyes, and by my leg is a chubby, soft little bottom trying its best to snuggle closer to me. Is this heaven? The genes of the domineering CEO and the noble ladies naturally speak for themselves. Each child they produce is absolutely adorable, adorable little creatures. Cute creatures should rule the world. Hearing the adorable little one in Miss Zhao's arms fussing to play with something, Miss Zhao was busy both feeding and changing diapers, holding my Gu Xiaobao. I had Xiaobao share his toy with this little brother, generously. From my arms, Gu Xiaobao leaned down, extended his chubby little paw, and handed the singing toy rabbit worth 50,000 to the baby. The little one took the toy and stopped crying or fussing. He giggled happily at the 2 of us. In Miss Zhao's eyes, I am like a living bodhisattva, a modern-day Huatua, just a bit bored, not hungry and doesn't need a diaper change, I said with a smile, not taking any credit. Madam, your little one isn't shy at all. What a wonderful child. Mothers always love it when others praise their children, and the CEO's wife was no exception. She immediately beamed from ear to ear. Hey, girl, how do you get these babies to be so well-behaved in your hands? Any tips you can share? I looked at Miss Jean, who nodded with a smile. I'm curious too. With one arm wrapped around Gu Xiaobao, I let Miss Zhao's child play with my other hand. There's no special trick, really. Maybe I'm just naturally likable to kids. I chuckled, making up an excuse. Children are the most genuine. If you're good to them and spend time with them, they'll naturally like you. That much was true. Oh dear, then I really have no choice. A flustered noblewoman fretted for a moment before coming up with a new idea. Xiao, how about lending me your girl for a few days? I'll pay her the same wages. My child has never been this well-behaved before. Miss Jean hesitated with a soft Seeing this, I smiled and said, You flatter me, madam. I've monopolized the childcare work at Sister Jean's house. Tang Tang can't do without me now. Just as I spoke, Tang Tang suddenly hugged my face and gave me a kiss. Don't go. I heard him plead pitifully. I don't want to have to eat when I'm not hungry every day, or force myself to go when I don't need to. I'm speechless. Yen master, your choice of words is a bit crude. Don't say I taught you that. What a shame. Under my management as the head of this little treasure, everything is in perfect order. Not a single child here cries for more than 10 seconds. None of the ladies have ever had it this easy. They all want to poach me away. A good nanny is a treasure not to be shared. So is a good parenting specialist. By the time the gathering was about to end, my pants were surrounded by little hands. The wealthy ladies tried to take their children away, but each one they picked up burst into tears, wailing so heart-wrenchingly, so earth-shatteringly, so movingly that it left everyone utterly helpless. I've got an idea. I had no choice but to hold them one by one in my arms, comforting them. Good babies. I'll play with you tomorrow. Okay, don't cry, don't cry. They stopped crying. Good yaya. Big sister will come see you tomorrow. Okay, stop crying. Now, go home with mommy. Another one soothed. Little Goo Goo, don't cry anymore. Be good. You'll meet your sister tomorrow. One more smile. After comforting everyone in this way, the scene finally quieted down. My hands were overwhelmed, too sore to lift. After returning, Miss Jean didn't say much, just told me to rest well. As for Sui Cheng, at 6 o'clock, before Gu Xiaobao could cry out, it was Miss Jean's phone that rang first. She came to the nursery in her pajamas, holding her phone, and woke me up. Little sister, the child at Sister Zhang's house is crying and asking for you. No one else can comfort them. I rubbed my sleepy eyes, thinking to myself, how did I end up with an assignment like this? In the video, the only child at Ms. Zhang's house who could speak yesterday was crying uncontrollably, repeating, I want sister, I want sister. Do I have such deep feelings for him and can't manage without me now? I had just finished getting ready to go to Miss Zhang's house when Miss Jean's phone rang again. Another family called, asking me to go see the child. I stood numbly at the door, watching Miss Jean answer several phone calls before she finally spread her hands helplessly. You don't need to go out anymore. They're bringing the child here. It's quite miraculous. But not long after seeing me, the child stopped crying, as if I had poisoned them, and I am the living antidote. Heaven and earth bear witness. When Mr. Gu got up, he was stunned for a long time by the magnificent scene in the living room. Miss Jean pulled him aside and explained it again, and only then did he glance at me with a look of vague understanding, as if I were some sort of human-shaped cat treat. I lay numbly on the sofa, drowsy and surrounded by children crawling all over me. In the evening, the wealthy ladies each transferred a sum of money to me. Catching a meaningful glance from Miss Jean, I didn't dare accept it, simply saying that I enjoyed playing with the children and that it wouldn't make sense for me to take money for something I enjoyed doing. It was the same routine as yesterday, sending the child off. Miss Jean looked at my body, drained as if all my vitality had been sucked out, and couldn't bear it. She gave me a day off and promised she absolutely wouldn't call me back today. I returned to my rented room with a mix of belief and doubt, since I only worked for half a year, with 2 days off per month and one of those days being suddenly called back because the child cried. My rental apartment is cleaner than anything else, like a showroom, just used for sleeping. It's only been a little over 10 days. The day was calm and uneventful, and I slept like a log. Upon returning to the GU residence, I found the living room had once again become a raucous party for the babies. Their cries rose and fell in waves, driving me to the brink of despair. System, get out here. Under the roar of the fierce wife, the system scurried out and explained to me that due to a numerical analysis error, all my talent points had been allocated to attracting children. This made me to babies what catnip is to cats, bamboo to pandas, and bones to dogs, so any child I've ever seen would be drawn to me until they develop awareness. What kind of nonsense is this? Shocking. The baby whisperer is at it again, calming children, starting with max-level baby talk. I've got countless tycoons wrapped around my finger. Are these powerful tycoon capitalists going to send me to a research institute to be dissected and studied, so they can extract a miracle drug, a potion that controls babies, then mass-produce it and become insanely rich? I sat in the community center, thinking helplessly. This community was built within a month. Even the formaldehyde inside has been cleared out. The money was crowdfunded by the domineering CEOs, specifically for me, to take care of the children, under the guise of an early education class, and just like that, I started running an early education class within the circle of domineering CEOs. The soft carpet covers every inch of the floor, making me feel like if I fell, I'd bounce right back up. To ensure I could fully focus on taking care of the children, all my daily needs were meticulously attended to. I looked after the kids, and someone else looked after me. I didn't have to worry about any of the children's expenses. I just had to inform the designated person, and everything would be purchased. On top of that, each family paid me an extra 100,000 yuan per month. Tearfully, I earned over 1 million yuan each month, rich, but unable to go out and enjoy it. But the kids need to go out and play. Their wealthy parents go out like they're on a team-building trip, renting an entire island. I reminded each child to stay quiet and well-behaved for 2 days, then still tearfully tagged along on the private jet, private island, and private hotel, just eating, drinking, and playing like this. Every single one of them is about to start school, although they're not as clingy now. The domineering CEOs find it troublesome and have hired private tutors in every subject to come to their homes. They've essentially turned the community into their own kindergarten. They had their own connections and relationships to make me the kindergarten principal. During this time, many domineering CEOs heard about my reputation and sent their children here to be disciplined, which brought considerable benefits to the Gu family. I became a lucky cat. Life was tedious yet easygoing, and when they started elementary school, they all left this place. I watch over the kindergarten, occasionally welcoming new children and bidding farewell to the older ones. Fortunately, they haven't forgotten me, often bringing their awards and homework to join the early education class for study. This gradually turned into an after-school care program, with tutors coming to provide guidance. The parents were more than happy to have some leisure time. Then they grew up and became wiser. The most notable one is Gu Mingtang, who has been with me the longest. This kid was sweet and adorable when he was little, but the older he gets, the more he resembles his father, serious and mature, acting like an adult since childhood. He has already forgotten the past, forgotten how he used to tug at my clothes and beg, "Sister, don't go." It seems he really does think of me as his sister. Nonsense. I'm of the same generation as his mother, so, with Qin Jiao's mediation, he successfully started calling me auntie. I've been with the Gu family for 7 or 8 years now, always treating this place as my own home. No matter how lively the early education classes, kindergarten, or after-school programs got, my priority was always Gu Xiaobao. Over the years, I've grown to tolerate, and even appreciate, Mr. Gu, that insufferable, domineering CEO. Perhaps it's because his wife truly treats me like a younger sister. Occasionally during the holidays, when he brings gifts for his wife and child. He even includes one for me. I am truly grateful to him. These children have all been taught well by me, each one understanding gratitude and knowing propriety throughout the year, from Spring Festival and Women's Day to my birthday, Teacher's Day, and various other niche days. They always come to me with gifts, either handmade or bought. I am only 24, sitting on a 9-figure fortune, with the heirs of various prominent families in the capital behind me. The biggest daily worry is what to eat for lunch, what to eat for dinner, and what to eat for a midnight snack. I just idled away like a salted fish until I turned 28, and Gu Mingtang started middle school. This child inherited his mother's gentleness and his father's talkative nature. Thus, he became a worrywart like an old mother hen. This worry isn't for anyone else, it's just for me. Auntie, you shouldn't just lie around at home like this. Go find a husband. I tapped his forehead. Since when do you get to boss me around, Gu? Mingtang covered his head, his gaze still firm, still earnest. Dad says a life without goals is like sailing without a direction. I interrupted him without changing my expression. My goal is to get rich, he frowned. But you don't go to work every day. How can you get rich? Me, isn't my daily interest higher than my salary from work? He shook his head, as if trying to shake my twisted logic out of his mind. You've led me astray again. It's not about making you work for money. Just find a goal for yourself, otherwise you'll become too idle. Gu Mingtang said with a serious expression, you should go find a husband. The teacher said that once a person has a partner, they won't feel so bored. Me, are you that eager for me to get married? Gu Mingtang immediately shook his head. No, auntie, at the very least, you should take in a son-in-law, who would even be qualified to marry you. I did the math for him. Do you know how much it costs to bring a man into the family these days? Even the daughter of a provincial governor's family has to prepare 20 million to marry a man, because what a woman loses is just 20 million, but what a man loses is his pride. Gu Mingtang was stunned and quickly calculated his own savings. What kind of man is worth that much? A man who is 170 centimeters tall and weighs 160 kilograms. I sighed. Gu Mingtang pondered thoughtfully. If Dad had no money, would he also not have been able to marry Mom? I spread my hands. Because your mom loves your dad. She didn't ask for so much money. He nodded. So Dad has to treat Mom really, really well. So you should be good to your future wife, or else no girl will be willing to have your. My mouth was covered by Gu Mingtang, his serious little face slightly flushed. Auntie, I'm just a child. I looked at him and smiled. But now I know. On his 18th birthday, Gu Mingtang specifically invited me. I witnessed his growth from a child who had to pick his pacifier to the man he is today. Capable of holding up half the sky, he has a gentle demeanor, never pushing people away with an icy distance, because I said that cold, aloof people are hard to get along with and not conducive to making friends, yet he speaks only in half measures, reserved and sparing with words, because I said that too much talk invites trouble and is not beneficial for the future, having read over a decade of domineering CEO novels. I applied every bit of knowledge I learned from them to him, and in the end, I truly raised a domineering CEO. He began to get involved in the company's affairs, and some of the partners were children who had once attended my early education classes. They occasionally came to see me. After all, the bond didn't need to be as deep as Gu Mingtang's. They would ask me what I needed and then send someone to deliver it. When I was 35, I started a flower shop out of boredom. I paid for the shop myself. But Gu Mingtang helped me with everything from location scouting to sourcing supplies. Whenever the children's families needed flowers for any occasion, they would come to me, and they even introduced people to help me attract customers. The day before, a competitor came to cause trouble, and the next day, that competitor's shop and the people in it were completely replaced. When it comes to the partnerships I want, even if the first attempt fails, the second one is guaranteed to succeed. Everyone on the commercial street says the owner of that flower shop has incredibly good business luck, only I know it's because I've raised enough children, and every single one of them has turned out successful. Every child I've brought up has turned out well, not a single spoiled brat among them. The one with the worst habits secretly kept a few young actors, hiding the news from me completely. It was Gu Mingtang who spilled the beans with a straight face. A girl who liked Xiaochen came to my shop to buy flowers. For some reason, she wasn't satisfied and ended up knocking over a flower stand. Having taught dozens of children myself, I have plenty of patience and a good temper. Miss, this flower stand with the pot and seedlings will cost nearly 50,000. I kindly reminded her. The woman glared at me fiercely. Dare to make me pay. Do you know who owns the street? I nodded. The Chen families. This branch store was opened here only after young Master Chen repeatedly urged me to do so. I am Mr. Chen's girlfriend. With just one word, I can shut down your shop. I shrugged and waited for her To finish her tantrum before following her out, the next day, she was personally escorted over by Xiaoqin, apologized to my aunt. Xiaoqin said coldly to her, Hey, Xiaoqin, haven't I taught you before? Don't be so rough with girls. I stepped forward with a smile, still not looking at the woman on the ground, but simply straightening his slightly messy tie. You look a bit haggard, tired from work, don't worry about me. The woman looked up in alarm, seemingly because of the way we addressed each other, no matter if it's Manager Chin, Manager Gu, Manager Fu, or Manager Shin. In front of me, they're all just Little Chin, Little Gu, Little Fu, and Little Shin *. After mastering baby talk, I became the little N of the tycoons *. After the woman was driven out by Little Chin, the two of us faced each other, and Little Chin suddenly sighed, I'm really sorry, Auntie. I didn't know she would come and cause trouble here. I smiled and patted his back. This isn't your fault. You've always been the type to silently shoulder blame since you were little. While I appeared not to blame him, I was actually reminding Xiaoqin that I was the one who brought him up. When he was falsely accused, I was the one who stepped in to uphold justice. Only someone like me, who moves among all the families yet doesn't fully belong to any, could truly mediate fairly whenever two families need reconciliation or peace. It still has to go through me, even though I have no official status or position, but no one should dare to mess with me. Any slight offense, and the remaining 80 or so heirs would seize the opportunity to take a bite out of them. My flower shop was harmless enough, with so many children to support. I sponsored a bit, and top-tier brands and companies lined up to collaborate with me. In less than 2 years, it reached heights an ordinary flower shop could never dream of. So, at over 40 years old, I finally stopped slacking off and began navigating the world of fame and fortune. At a high-end banquet, I was invited, knowing full well I was just there to make up the numbers, so I quietly enjoyed my dessert in a corner. Now that I am older, my looks have not faded. After all, I have no worries to trouble me, nor do I need to compete with a group of young ladies for attention. Instead, I attracted the attention of some of the younger generation of society ladies. Many people know that my company rode the wave of opportunity, inexplicably favored and selected by various parties to achieve its current success, but few are aware of my relationship with the children. These high society ladies are nothing but my husband's hired thugs. Not a single one of them speaks to me with any real courtesy. It was the children who managed to save my face in the end. Little Yaya is as capable as any man, holding her own effortlessly among a crowd of grown men. Seeing me surrounded by a group of women, she immediately came over with a glass in hand. Auntie, I finally found you. She affectionately leaned in and linked her arm with mine. Little Yaya has been the fiercest contender for attention since she was a child. She has plenty of strength and tricks up her sleeve. What are you all crowding around my aunt for? Eager to offer her collaborations, she said with a smile. Mrs. Jiang, didn't your family just finish building that villa in the east of the city? You'll need plants and flowers, right? I came empty-handed, filled my stomach with desserts, and left with a big contract in hand. Actually, I misspoke. I'm still a salted fish, just one that my kids keep flipping over with all their might. In the end, I can't possibly come out at a loss. At that time, the child from the Zhang family was the oldest among all the children I had raised. Already at the age where he needed to choose a wife, the family had selected a fiancée for him, and he brought her over for me to meet. This is my aunt, he said to his fiancée. She was a bright and cheerful woman, who immediately asked with curiosity, Aunt, the one who raised me when I was little, along with Little Shin, Little Gu, and Little Fu, we were all very attached to her back then. The woman almost instantly recalled the rumors about me, and her attitude immediately grew much more respectful. Auntie, hello, if this were in ancient times, I would have been the wet nurse for the eldest legitimate sons of 60% of the imperial relatives and nobles in the capital, as well as officials of the 4th rank and above, though I couldn't be granted the title of first-rank lady. I had the backing of nearly half the capital's nobility. Later, the children brought their fiancés and fiancées to show me one by one. I memorized about 100 children and their partners, though there was some overlap. The most desperate thing was that the first couple to have a child excitedly invited me to see them. At that very glance, their child became attached to me. I'm speechless. Call me the ancient Greek god in charge of children. Since others were worried, I simply put my company aside. After all, I didn't need to negotiate contracts, and started taking care of the children's children, who knew that nannies could be hereditary. As expected, I would once again open an early education class for the new generation of domineering CEOs, and then, I would be clung to by this new generation of children until they reached adulthood. Knowing that I was brought here by the system, I dared not develop too many emotional attachments in this world, so I remained unmarried. and childless for my entire life. In their eyes, I had toiled for them all my life, without even having children of my own, and thus, when I died, the funeral procession was massive, with luxury cars swarming the streets, second only to those of the old-school family patriarchs in the paparazzi footage, faces crowded together, all familiar from financial news, the CEO, that chairman, a whole group of them. I am the bond between them, bringing the heirs of these families together from childhood. As they grew up, they formed a circle of connections. So many of the current generation of leaders know each other well, and no one dares to play dirty tricks, because in my youth, I firmly believed that domineering CEOs must be well-rounded in virtue, intellect, physique, aesthetics, and labor, otherwise, no heroin would fall for them, so I managed them strictly. Perhaps they still carry some shadows from that into adulthood. The system gathered my soul and asked me to rate him. He needs his KPI. He did not grant me the gift of English as I had wished, but instead, gently and steadily, guided me into a life among the purest, most sincere, and most grateful souls. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.